Welcome to the BriteVibe podcast. At BriteVibe, we believe everyone deserves to be happy. But in today's world, everywhere you turn, there is division and negativity. At BriteVibe, we have created a global movement to bring 8 million people together who are inspired to live bright, live bold, and share bright vibes. Alone, it can be hard to change, but together we can change the world. Welcome to the BriteVibe podcast. Our special guest today is Ken Honda, and Ken and I are speaking from two different sides of the world. Ken is actually in Japan. And of course, I'm in the United States today and most every day. And I'm super excited to have Ken on. We talked a little bit pre-show. There's so many things I want to talk about today. Ken is the author of over 100 books about primarily about money. In fact, has probably the one that we know the best in the English-speaking part of the world is called Happy Money, and sold 8 million copies of that book and other books. And so written over 100 books. Best known for Happy Money. You just got back from traveling the world, which I'm super excited to hear kind of what you saw out in the world, because I haven't been traveling much, and especially I've done no international travel in the last 3 years. So I'm really curious what you were seeing out there in the space. But Ken, I'm so excited. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Matt. I'm so happy to be on your show.
So let's just jump in. You wrote your bestseller in the States anyway, Happy Money. What is Happy Money?
Happy money is money that gives you a smile when you receive it. It gives you such a happy feeling. And when you spend it, when you pay bills or at the restaurant or something, you feel a lot of joy when you spend it. That is happy money. But unfortunately, we are in the flow of unhappy money, where you feel squeezed when you get a check because you worry if I can make both ends meet. Or when you pay bills, you feel irritated. I don't want to pay this bill. That's what I call unhappy money.
Wow. Okay. So, and as you were saying that, I was just reflecting on myself. It was like, because at first I was like, well, isn't all money kind of happy? Aren't you happy? But you're right. When we receive a check or money, sometimes we're stressed about what we have to do with it, right? What bills we have to pay or what bills can't we pay, right? And then when we pay the bills, yes, we're always semi-resentful of, there's even a saying like, all I ever get in the mail is bills, right? And bills are kind of equated to bad news, right? And so how do we shift our mindset around that? I mean, I guess what's the shift, or what do you write about?
So I use Zen approach, which is make everything simple. So when it comes down to a happy life, it's how you receive the information from outside. So if you have this happy money attitude, all the news that comes from outside is good news. So when you get money, you can appreciate the money coming in because it's a miracle that you're chosen out of hundreds of other candidates as a coach or as an employee. Your boss or your client could have chosen somebody else, but they trusted you to pay. So you can appreciate about the fact that you're chosen. So it doesn't really matter how much you get, but can you appreciate the fact that you are trusted? So happy money attitude gives you this opportunity that actually you're experiencing something beautiful. So when you pay bills, you can appreciate the electricity that you have in your house. Right now, a big typhoon is hitting in Japan. So the southern part, they're experiencing total blackout, which happens once in every few years. It's very rare. But when something happens, you appreciate the electricity that was installed in your house. We take it for granted. So when you pay bills, I know it's getting expensive and you may feel frustrated, but think of the fact, can you live without it? So when you just take a look at the bill, instead of feeling it's bad news for you, you can appreciate the fact that you have electricity and also you have the money to pay for it. So instead of feeling stress, you can shift your mind into more gratitude part.
Wow, I love that. I love everything you've just said there, and just even the perspective is just fresh, and it's also enlightening because I can just feel the difference in myself as you're talking, just about the how I'm perceiving money and just the gratitude practice. That's like just being grateful for every dollar that comes in because it's a gift, a blessing. It's not just I think too often. And maybe it's all over the world and you can enlighten us on that. But too often it's almost like, well, I deserve this. I earned it. I deserve it. And it doesn't sound like that's in alignment with happy money.
Yes, Matt. So right now, I've been traveling around the world and I've seen people who are in shock and fear because of what's going on with gas prices and the food and all that. A lot of people start worrying about their future. That's when you need the happy money most, because that really frees you. Instead of feeling stuck with where you are, you can be creative. You can come up with more creative ways to welcome money instead of just complaining about it. And when you become more creative and start coming up with new ideas, you can be proactive, and you forget you used to worry about money, because you're enjoying your creative ideas to how to bring more money into your life.
And can you, because I love this philosophy, so can you give us some examples of either students that you visited with or your own example of what that in practical, or just some examples to help us, excuse me, to quantify that?
Yes. So one of my students was a single mom who didn't get paid well. So she was complaining about her situation when she came in. But she learned about this happy money attitude, and she forgot to appreciate her boss for keeping her for 10 years. Before, she talked like as if her boss is a slave owner. And then she realized that she doesn't have a high school, she doesn't have a college degree, but still she was hired. And so she started appreciating her boss by saying thank you for keeping me and all that. And about a few weeks later, she got a big raise and a big bonus. Her boss, I think he forgot how to appreciate her more. And then appreciation goes both ways. Once she starts appreciating her, he feels appreciated. And also he feels appreciating for her too. So it goes that way. So I'm not talking about this spiritual thing. As a consultant, for example, the other example is I divided my clients into two groups. One, I do nothing. The other, I visited them with small gifts, like a cup of Japanese tea or herb tea or books or some kind of nice gift, which doesn't cost more than $10. And I checked what happened 6 months later. From the group one, I didn't do anything. I got some referrals, but not so much. But the second group, I try to bring some small gift to show my appreciation for their business. I got so many referrals because my appreciation really got to their heart, and then they feel appreciated. So they ask me for a stock of my cause and the information, so they can just let their friends know about me. So appreciation really works. If you appreciate your clients more, your bosses, your colleagues more, you'll be appreciated more. It's because we feel appreciating for other people when you feel appreciated. That's goes both ways.
Yeah, and it's so simple when you say it, but it's so profound in its effect, right? It's basically like when people are, to your point, it's like when people are, I won't even say flattering, but just kind with compliments or kind with their words, and you're like, and they say something to you, you remember that, and you also typically want to hear that again, right? I mean, it's kind of like, even as a boss, right? I'm typically, in most situations, I'm the boss, so to speak. And so I have noticed when employees actually say something, when they appreciate the work I'm doing, it's almost like some kind of superpower, because it makes me appreciate what they're doing, and probably opening up my eyes, just like you talked about in that example, makes me appreciate what they're doing, because I'm just doing what I'm doing, and I'm not really appreciating what they're doing because I'm just stuck in the kind of maybe poor thinking. And so, yeah, I can see how it can have a really... Go ahead.
Yes, Matt. I think we take everything for granted, and we underappreciate what's going on. Instead of just feeling deep appreciation, we tend to go into complaining mode. And once you're in a complaining mode, there are so many things to complain about. Your husband, your wife, your kids, your parents, your neighbors, your city, town, and your government and your president and prime ministers. So everything could be the target of your complaints. And once you're in that mode, you lose power. You lose power to have control over your life. So appreciation is really the key to bring the power back into your life. And once you have the power with appreciation, you can do so many great things. And that's why I've observed so many happy, successful people. And the root of all that is happy money. they appreciate money. And money touches every area of your life. Money touches health, relationships, and work, and your peace of mind. So once you have a happy attitude toward money, your attitude toward life changes too. So once it happens, it's like a domino effect. Everything will be better.
I love it. And I'm writing notes down, and I'm just writing notes. I keep writing the word appreciation, because it's not just the money, right? It's everything. I think, right? If you shift your mind over into gratitude and appreciate, especially I like the word appreciation, the way you used it. As we shift our minds over into appreciation, it naturally just opens up flow. It seems like, whether it's money, whether it's relationship, communication. Thank you for the meal you cooked. Thank you for I think it just puts us in a different vibration, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, Matt. I think you are a happy money person, and you've been living that way. That's why you're popular. That's why people love you, because they want to be touched by your love and generosity. I've been interviewed by so many people, and the successful ones have so much love and generosity. It's almost like it's overflowing their capacity. That's why they're more loving, and the love that overflows them attract more people. So they grow. I think it's like a law of business.
And and it's working. That was the little appreciation that you just showed me. It was like I got warm, my face got a little hot, my heart opened up a little bit. I could feel it. The way you were so kind to me with your words, all of a sudden it was like it lifted my attitude. I could just feel myself getting more loving. Actually, though, you mentioned that word as you were talking, I actually felt more love for you but you were the one saying nice things. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So, and I think if people are, watching, they're writing a lot of comments, they're, oh yes, I agree. Matt is great. So once we just, open up the appreciation, it's a domino effect. So I hope the viewers and listeners, they'll start appreciating their partners and their friends and bosses. I think this viral isn't so bad,
Yeah, that's what
gets going.
That's what I was thinking. And it's almost, I won't say fake it till you make it, but because you want to be sincere in your appreciation, but there is something magical to just doing it, even if you're not 110% sincere with it. It just meaning finding small things to be grateful for to somebody else. It's like a practice. It sounds like it's just a practice like anything else. And the more you do it, and I'm thinking I've got a friend in my life that does this a lot. Like every time before we sign off on a conversation, he'll always say like, well, I appreciate you for that, or I appreciate you for this. And he stands out because not very many people do that. Right. And I don't do that. I need to do more of that.
Yes.
So he stands out in a group of people. And I notice, whenever I'm around him, he's always very positive. No matter how dire the situation is, he's typically a very positive person, and he's always appreciative of what's ever happening in the moment, even though he still has challenges like the rest of us. That's interesting.
Yes. So, when you just have this opportunity that you want to share with, that I think you go to that person first, because he or she will appreciate you for that. So, it's just a lucky situation attracts more luck. So to those who appreciate more, and also the same thing goes with the people who love tipping. One time when I visited the U.S., I had this opportunity. My mentor and my great, I feel humbled to call him a friend, Dr. John Gray, who's the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
This is crazy.
I asked him.
Yes. I'm going to interrupt you. This is so crazy. I had John come in and do a talk where I live, and literally he and I spent a day. I was driving him around town because we had some time to kill before his talk. I was hosting him, and literally he and I just hung out for the whole day chit-chatting about life. This is so crazy that he's your friend, and that this is just the world is such a weird. I've got a cell phone in my I've got a cell phone number in my phone. We were texting back and forth. Wait, this has been 10 or 12 years ago. Yeah.
Nice. So you know how friendly he is, and he's so generous about tipping. So as a cultural thing, I asked him, how much do you pay for a tip? I just wanted to know about American custom. And he said, I'm a little different. I tip people very, high. And I asked him how much, and he said, I tip usually about 25 to 50%. And so he tips people like 50% sometimes when she or he does a good job. And wow. And he took me to a nice American steak dinner because he wanted me to experience America. So when we got into a restaurant, I've never seen a restaurant manager run so fast from the entrance to Dr. Gray. And he greeted Dr. Gray in such a big open welcome. And that's how 50% tipping, does. And then we introduced the best table in the restaurant, and everybody just came so fast, probably twice as fast as I've ever experienced. And people are so generous. It's because Dr. Gray has been so generous with everybody. And people may think that he is wealthy, that's why he can afford it. No. I'm sure he used to be that way. That's why he became famous and generous. You know who I'm talking about, right, Matt?
Yes, of course. Yes. You mean he was doing that before he was famous? Is that what you're meaning?
I think so. So
yeah.
If you spend a few hours with him,
yes.
I'm talking about, right? He's so generous,
super nice,
open mind for, yes.
And very inquisitive.
That's the attitude of Happy Money.
Yeah, he was very inquisitive, and he spent a lot of time asking about my business, what we did, and then he would find connections in the senior care industry. And so we spent a lot of time talking about seniors and how we could help them become more engaged and feel more purposeful, because there's kind of like when seniors retire from their careers, typically it's pretty hard for them to transition from those careers because that's been their whole identity and most of their life. Right. And so he and I were visiting quite a bit about that, but he was you could tell he truly was compassionate and caring. It wasn't a facade, he didn't have any reason. It was just the two of us driving around. He didn't have any reason to impress me or try to win me over. We were just having conversation.
Yeah, right. So even though he's super famous, he has this happy man attitude. That's why everybody loves John, Dr. Gray, So if you have this attitude, people will love you more. So people will come to you for more opportunities and most of the times more money as a result.
And so, and you'd shared this with, you and I visited once before, and you'd shared this with me then. And I'd really like to, if you wouldn't mind, and I know it's, a very personal story, but, I always like to hear the why people do what they do, because I find that people who are out there doing the most good and helping the most, wanting to help the most people, typically it was because of some deep-rooted pain or some deep-rooted catalyst that happened at, a younger age typically. And so you had shared a story, and I would ask if you won't mind sharing that story with our audience today of just why, what was your experience, the catalyst event for you, and how that affected you and really your family, I think, at that time. Because I think it's just so, I think it's so important to understand that and why you write over 100 books, why you have millions of copies. And if I remember right in the beginning, you were just distributing them free just because you wanted people just to, get the message. And there's a reason for that, because you were successful in your own right financially before you ever wrote any books. You had already had abundance. You were already kind of established wealth. I believe you'd sold, your company, and you were retired at a fairly young age, for retirement, if that's
right.
So it wasn't like you had to come back and do this to make money. This is out of your passion. So I'll be quiet. I'll be quiet now and let you tell your story.
Thank you, Matt, for asking. So I ask myself still, why am I doing what I'm doing? I sold so many copies. I don't need to write another book. Yet I have so much passion about helping people, like Dr. John Gray. It's not because I want something from people. It's just I want to share. And I think, Matt, when you ask me, I think I go back to my childhood. My father was a very successful tax accountant. And he started teaching me about money to make sure when I grow up, I'll be safe and my family was safe. The reason why he did that is he thought the world is full of scary things. So you have to make sure you have enough power to protect yourself. So he used to teach me about karate and fencing and all that. Very, macho type of guy. But one day when I came back from school, I saw him crying like a baby in a kitchen. And I was, wow, I never thought men were capable of crying. Only like girls and women cry, because I've never seen an adult male cry in my life. Mm-hmm. And my mother took me aside and she explained to me what's going on. She said, my father's best friend died. Actually, he committed suicide. And I knew by then what committed suicide means, killing yourself. And I was, whoa, because I never heard such a thing. I knew as a knowledge. And she said, but the worst part of all is my father's best friend, committed suicide. Before that, he killed his entire family of 4 and committed suicide. That means that there's a term called family suicide. He was going to file bankruptcy, but to save the shame and embarrassment from bankruptcy, he killed the family and killed himself. And later I found out that my father was a tax advisor for his buddy. And my father's client came to him for money to ask for a loan. And my father said no, because the money he gives loan will go directly to loan shark. But he had the money prepared for his best friend's family once they filed bankruptcy. But he was a macho guy. I think probably a generation ago, American guys the same, they don't talk as much. Mm-hmm. So he didn't tell his best friend he had the money to support the family. So till my father's last day, he regretted that he didn't tell that to his buddy. And after that, my grandmother also passed away around the time. So he got really into heavy depression. And so for me, money is just such a scary monster. To wipe out your entire family could depress your father so badly. So he got very abusive. He used to be just a fun, generous person. We had a band, family band. My father's hero was Elvis Presley. He always dressed white, I was so embarrassed as a boy, but he loved Elvis Presley. He was playing Elvis music almost every day. But that fun-loving dad is gone. and then I was just chased by this monster who got depressed after that. So I think I set off for a quest for the answer. What money does people? And, what is money? So I wanted to know about the answer for happiness and money. And that is what's driving me still to write about happiness and money, because something like that will never happen to any family. So I'm happy because I have protected my family, and my daughter is already an adult, so she'll be fine. So I have nothing to worry about. But what I'm worried about is an economy trend it's like a tsunami to a lot of financially challenged people from now. So that's why I'm here with interviews like this. I don't get paid, but I'm here to share this idea so you don't have to kill yourself, or you don't have to worry about money or life. And once you just change a little bit of how you think of life and money, you can enjoy life much more in a deeper way. So thank you for just letting me share the story.
I love the story, and you've even expanded on it, so which I really appreciate, because I do really, that's just such a horrific thing, but it has led to such power in you then to want to do good for others, so that they don't have to experience something like that. And then I don't think you'd shared about your dad last time, so that is even more personal to you, that it's truly about being happy. Watching your father be depressed, I'm sure that had to have a very strong effect on you, right? That you wanted to be happy, but you especially wanted others to be happy. So you talked about, you just got back from traveling the world, and you also mentioned this tsunami that's coming. But for people that are living paycheck to paycheck right now, we talked about appreciation earlier, but for people who are living paycheck to paycheck, gas prices are going up, food prices are going up. We have stock market, fluctuations and for a lot of people living paycheck to paycheck, the stock market probably isn't affecting them specifically, but we've got a lot of uncertainty out there right now. What have you been saying to people as you've traveled the world?
So this money worries may be good news or bad news, depending on how you take it. Because you start thinking of your life more seriously. Before, if you could make both ends meet, you didn't probably pay much attention to money. But once this is getting tight, you feel like you're being boiled in this pan. So you feel like you got to get out of this situation. That's when we get to be more creative. So you can come up with many great ideas to pull you out from this financial mess. And instead of just relying on your bank account, I suggest people to rely on your friends and family members, especially in the West. I think people are brainwashed that you need to be independent. So it's wrong to depend on your families. It's wrong to depend on your brothers and sisters. It's wrong to depend on your best friends. So you can ask for advice, but you cannot depend on them. My question to you is why? That's what friends are for. So when the bad times comes, you need to be vulnerable and ask for help. And in other cultures like Asian cultures and Latino cultures, I think friends are closer and families are closer. But unfortunately, many of the Western families, they're separated and they think this independence is good. But I guess there's no choice. We have to depend on each other to go through these hardships, which our parents and grandparents and grandparents experienced 80 years ago. During the Depression time, our grandparents and their relatives got close, and they all went through the hardships together. So I think this upcoming financial hardships will make our ties stronger. I think, which is good news.
Yeah, and I guess I can see that and I, again, from my own experience over the last 3 years, there's definitely been a very interesting time financially and just with the shifts in business and the shifts in the world. And actually, I was talking to some business leaders about 2 weeks ago, and they all said now is when they're feeling the real effects of what happened during the pandemic. With it's actually the financial tsunami, as you put it, is starting to happen now. It hasn't been since then because of all the stimulus in the States and all the money that was pushed out. Everybody kind of had money to spend, and now that's all kind of gone. And so now the reality of the economy is actually setting in of okay, now things are going to correct to some degree for whatever that is. And so I think that there is a lot of things coming up now that are just as powerful, if not more powerful, than actually during the when I had to close businesses and got to kind of be at home for 2 months, I actually thought it was like a break and thought we should do it every year, right? Every year I was like, let's just take 2 months and not have to worry about money because everybody was super nice. And, banks were like, well, don't worry about it. And vendors were like, don't worry about it. And everybody was working together. And now I think we're kind of back to what you talked about in the Western culture, which is, I very rarely have anybody ask me for money, and I know I very rarely ask anybody else for money. There's almost like a shame of failure or shame of, you're not smart or you're dumb or, like I should have figured this out or I should have known this or known that. And the truth of the matter is life just happens, right? Life is just occurring, and bad things, when I say bad, there's going to be times where things are hard and there's going to be times where things are easier. And I think when, to your point about kind of your dad's friend who committed suicide, I think, when things are hard, we do feel like we're alone. We do feel isolated. We do feel like, or at least this is my experience of the friends and the family and the relatives. I think anybody would be willing to help. It's just nobody's asking. Nobody's asking me, and I'm sure as hell not asking anybody, right, for financial help. It's more like and there's almost a stigma to it. And I don't even know how to rewire that. I mean, because I do see in your point in Asian cultures, I have Asian friends and I have Hispanic friends, and you're right. They actually have pools that they put together and they loan money back and forth, and it's kind of part of their culture. But we don't do that in the West.
Right. It's very cultural, so I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm just enjoying the difference of the culture. For example, at our high school reunion in Japan, we casually ask each other how much we're making, like, oh, that's good, so like banking business is thriving. So we talk about weather. But in North America, if you just talk about your college friends, how much you're making, he's going to go, is this person crazy, right? You don't talk about how much money you make among your friends, right? No. Even good friends.
Right. No. Yep.
Right. So, you can shock American businessman how much I'm making. Like, like, what is this person trying to ask? But the same thing goes true with sexual thing. American businessmen may talk about, their sex life more openly than money. But when you grab a Japanese businessman ask him about sex life, the same reaction. What is this? Person ask me. So it's such very interesting. It's just a difference of a taboo where they are. So it's the same thing. Sex is more taboo in Japan, and money is more taboo in America. And I love this cultural difference. I can shock anybody, by asking how much you make a year, how much do you have in your bank account. Or, I can choke American people in 2 seconds.
I love it. I love it. Well, for everybody tuning in and everybody watching, give us Father Ken. I'll call you Father Ken. Give us Father Ken's best advice for the next 12 to 24 months. Give us Father Ken's best. Here's things that you can do to be proactive, or here's where you need to have your mindset, or just here's how to help weather this, whatever this is.
So when something bad happens, your survival mode, sets in. So you can be more super creative, and new things come out. I've seen people who were laid off, or for one of the students, her husband got laid off and he got sick. So my student, who's been housewife for 30 years, had to start working. She had no idea. So she started selling insurance. And then in a few weeks, she found she had a knack for selling. So she became like number 8 in the whole nation. And she got training and she became number 1.
Wow.
And so, but she never knew that she had a knack for selling because she had no opportunity. So when something bad happens and then you have to go into this survival mode, new gift, new ability shows up by itself. So just you can expect your new something comes up. For me, I never thought I could write. But, you've seen me. I'm like a machine and I write so much. But I never knew it until I was 33. Once you're in this strange mode, different mode, you can do so many great things. And you will be amazed with your new discovery and who you are. So in the hard times, you are forced into doing something else, something very, very new, which is going to scare you. I know. I've been there. But once you just find the right spot, your reserved seat, you can fly. I've seen people who had no idea about what he or she is going to do. But once they're in the right sweet spot, she or he can fly. They don't have to work at all. It's so natural. So I hope you find your own reserved seat. Don't try to sit on other people's seat. Just look at the number and then try to find your seat. Once you find your own seat, the rest of your life, it's going to be very easy because you don't have to work. People are going to come in and help you. And you don't really have to work because whatever you do is going to be so natural and smooth, and people will love you for doing what you do. So I hope you figure out your life that way. And then after 5 years, You just think back on the last 5 years and then, phew, what a ride. But that was fun. So I hope you find the next 5 years of a lot of struggle be fulfilling and also a lot of exciting experience instead of just feeling scared and just stay stuck.
And I think that was the point. I love your story. I love the way you deliver, your message. And I think for me, that was I really want to drive home that you will feel uncomfortable. You will feel out of your element. You will feel awkward. You will feel insecure. And I'm speaking to my own experience that I'm still processing for myself as well. I'm getting ready to go through some transitions, and all of those things are real. And it's not something that you can skip. And it's not something that just, maybe for some people they get lucky and they just fall in the next thing. But for the most part, you're rewiring your brain, which freaks your brain out. It's not so I guess I want to be supportive to my fellow brothers and sisters out there in the world and say, if in your life the shit's hitting the fan, that's a positive. Ken Honda's just told us this is a good thing, and I believe it's a good thing. And we still and if nothing else, yeah, right. And if nothing else, just know that it's going to work out for much better than I've been witnessing in my own life. My plan and the plan, God's plan, however you want to frame that other plan, that plan's always better than Matt's plan. I just have to be brave enough to set Matt's plan down long enough to hear God's plan. And so that's been my struggle, is just that whole, I'm such a control freak. I'm such a, I've just built businesses and I've run stuff, and and it was all just to really control my environment so I would try to protect myself. And now I'm having to kind of let the world come to me and know that I'm going to be I'm safe. I don't have to protect myself. I'm not being stupid, right? I still need to be diligent, not be a fool, but at the same time know that the plan you're talking about is usually outside of the scope of whatever we can imagine how happy we could be, right?
Yes, because life throws a very interesting curveball, and I've experienced, and I'm sure, Matt, you have experienced it too. Once suddenly the road you're walking gets closed and shut.
Yes.
Oh, what am I going to do? But that means usually there is another way out. In a few years, when you think back, the way that the road was blocked is just the best thing that happened to your life. Because otherwise you keep doing your boring job. And for me, I would probably go down the accounting road. And so 25 years ago, my goal was to get 200 more clients. And when I think back 25 years ago, why did I think that? More busy. So, but now I have different ideas about life. But then getting 200 clients seems so practical and also so nice. So I could start working hard. But now I don't even have a goal. I'm just happy. I learned a new English phrase. I'm just a happy camper, right?
Yes, you're a happy camper. That's right. I love it. Well, and you have a new community that kind of supports more. So for people that want to know more about you, it's kenhonda.com. It's pretty straightforward. But you've got a new community that's kind of global, worldwide, where people can be supported in these conversations. Is that right?
Yes, it's called Arigato Living Community. Arigato means thank you. So appreciation-based community, about 15 different countries. We have a few hundred members worldwide. Actually, I have one of the largest online salon in Japan, a few thousand people. An English community just started. We have about 600 people. Mm-hmm. The other day, I traveled from Europe to US and Australia. So wherever I went, there are members. So it was so much fun to see to meet like-minded people. So we get together online and just have a chat. And I teach and share about happy money and how to discover your gifts and how to monetize them. That's another expertise I haven't really expressed in English yet. So I'm so happy to share the information. And a lot of information is free on my website. So you can do the money EQ personality test. So you can find out you're a spender or a gambler, money maker or money warrior, all type of things. And you will learn more about who you are and also you're dealing with money. And I hope I can help you transform your relationship with money. So that way you can have a peace of mind every day.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much I know you said the beginning of your day there and kind of the end of our work day here. So I appreciate you getting up early and coming on and sharing with us. And certainly as you'd like to visit more and as things evolve during this interesting economic time in our history, certainly feel free just to let us know. And I'd love to have you come back on and help us navigate this, because I know that I wrote a lot of good notes today and thinking about things differently. And so I so appreciate it on a very personal level. And then also from our viewership, thank you so much for living your passion and truly being authentic to your work. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Right now I'm working on the next book. The title is How to Stop Worrying About Money. So because a lot of people ask me that. So I'm just I'm going to share with you how to stop worrying about money in my next book. So
I love it. Well, when that comes
it's on
out,
its way.
Okay, as soon as you have a release date, let us know. Let's come back on the show and let's visit about that, because that's a great title.
All right. Thank you, Matt. And all the viewers, I'm sending all my blessings and love for you. A lot of great things will happen to your life. Bye-bye.
Thank you for being a part of the BriteVibe podcast. For more information, go to britevibe.com. That's BRITE Vibe, VIBE.com. Thank you for listening.